Good morning. We'll do a little sound check. How's the audio back in the back? Oh, I'm getting thumbs up. Okay. Well, good morning. Welcome, veterans, volunteers, community partners, and thank you for joining us on this very special morning. Election Day, as we honor our heroes, our special guests. My name is Kelly Heyer, and I'm Recreation Superintendent for West Bloomfield Parks. So it's my pleasure to do some introductions and kick off the program today. So let's start with a few rounds of thank yous. It's only fitting for November. Thank you to our amazing host, West Bloomfield School District. The middle school just opened this school year, and isn't this auditoria amazing? Thank you for hosting. To our wonderful entertainment, the Kalkaska String Quartet and Civic Center TV, for bringing this wonderful program into people's homes to celebrate our veterans from across the country. To our generous event sponsors and partners, our presenting sponsor, HAP, which you'll hear from Adam shortly. To our supporting sponsors, America's Choice, Provision Living, Henry Ford Health, Brookstone Realtors, Sunrise Senior Living, and Brookdale Senior Living. Thank you. Today would not be possible without the support from our event partners, hardworking Heroes Appreciation Planning Committee, and dedicated volunteers. On behalf of West Bloomfield Parks, a very special thank you to West Bloomfield Township, West Bloomfield Library, the school district, and West Bloomfield Police Department for their teamwork and attention to detail. And last but not least, to our veterans joining us this morning, thank you for being here. We salute you. The West Bloomfield Parks and Recreation Commission is dedicated to providing the residents of West Bloomfield with connections to nature and quality recreation experiences that encourage active lifestyles, personal wellness, and promote the protection of natural resources. Here with us today to help as we honor each of you to serve as our Master of Ceremony is the Chairman of West Bloomfield Parks. Chair Brooks spent much of his time living and traveling overseas throughout his career in the automotive industry, which helped instill in him a spirit of continual thanks to our U.S. veterans for their service. To get us starting for breakfast and to lead us through our morning, please help me welcome Robert Brooks.
Good morning to all. This morning I am so honored to be here with you, and not only am I honored, I'm humbled, because in service here to this community over the last 9 years, being on the West Bloomfield Parks and Recreation Commission, which I currently chair, which we alternate the chair, but I tell you, I have never been so amazed and pleased with coming out and being part of an activity that really lifts up our real heroes. So again, I thank you for that. And with that said, I'd like to welcome you all here. And I want to tell you what Veterans Day means to me. As I was asked to do this, Kaylin asked me a little bit about myself. And as you heard Kelly just mention that I lived overseas. Well, I lived overseas for a company by the name of General Motors. I went over there in the late 90s, and I went to Seoul, Korea. And the backdrop of that story is that my father served in the military, in the Army, and went over during the Korean conflict. My dad served near the DMZ and was injured. And one thing that my dad brought into my life as a young person was service was so very important. And whether we get injured in our service, we continue to move on. And while I served General Motors in the late 90s in Korea, and then later also in Japan and all across Asia, I thought to myself, although I couldn't serve in the military, I, with pride and joy, looked upon that land as a place my father had been, and a place where he had left some roots of sorts before coming back and marrying my mother. And with that said, I'd like to recognize my mother and sister that are here today. Of course, without my mother, I wouldn't be here. And needless to say, my sister came before me 14 months. And all that said, my father, who is now deceased, instilled in all of us community service. So with that said, I would like to personally salute and thank each and every one of the veterans here today and their families for their support in the recognition of our Heroes Day here today. Now, in our beginning, I'd like you to join us to support our veterans. But before we begin, let us stand together for the presentation of colors by the West Bloomfield Police Department, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance and the sing-along to our national anthem. Please rise. Please remain standing as we have our Pledge of Allegiance led by Adam from HAP.
Well, good morning. My name's Adam Simon. It's an absolute honor to spend this morning with you on today of all days, Election Day. Men and women from all over the country are exercising their right and their freedom to vote because of your sacrifice, your dedication to our country, and because you fought and protected our freedom. So on behalf of HAP, we want to honor you. We want to thank each and every one of you for the freedoms that we enjoy today. So thank you. And would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. And please be seated. A warm and special thank you goes out to our honor guard and our wonderful musicians here to my left. Let us give an applause. At this time, I'd like to welcome to the stage the Reverend Monica Williams, who will give an invocation and blessing of our veterans. Welcome.
Good morning. It is an honor to be here with all of you this morning and to have the opportunity to bring the blessing for this day. I invite you to be in an attitude of prayer together with me so that we might invite God's blessing on our time. O holy God, we call you by many names, but you are one and the same to us all, our beginning and our end. We thank you for this opportunity for us to gather as a community to honor our veterans who have faithfully served our nation. We give thanks for all that they have given for us, for their hard work and sleepless nights that have allowed us to sleep well, for their time and dedication that has contributed to the strength of our nation, for their sacrifices, placing their bodies and minds in service to country, being willing to suffer injury and give even their lives so that others might have safety, and for their families who have walked alongside of them and bent their lives to support service to country and endure their absence for love of country. May we honor them all, not only in word, but also in how we think, act, and serve. We pray especially for those who have been wounded in their service, both wounds seen and unseen, in body, mind, and spirit, that have brought suffering for them and their loved ones. We pray for you to give them strength and courage even now, and for the rest of us to remember and honor those sacrifices, care for them as dutifully and sacrificially as they have cared for us, and never to forget their honorable service. Help us use this time well then, dear God. May our time together fill us with gratitude for our veterans and service personnel still on active duty today. And may we honor the sacred trust of democracy this election day with our votes for those who will oversee our republic in that same spirit of service. We ask now, Great Spirit, that you would bless this time, the food prepared for us today, that they would both fill us and strengthen us, and serve to bring us together today as one community under God that endlessly struggles for liberty and justice for all. Amen.
A warm thank you to Reverend Monica Williams. At this time, we move forward on our program. I'd like you to take special note of those that are sitting at tables with you, and I'd like you to take the time to meet and know one another. This is always not only a great time as our volunteers come forward to move you on to the breakfast buffet, but it gives you an opportunity to reflect on your stories, because we all have a story. With that said, wait for your table to be called, and our volunteers will be wearing red, white, and blue aprons, and they'll be here to assist you not only calling your table, but if you have any difficulty going to the buffet, they will also help you with your plates. Volunteers will be assisting as well with refilling coffee at the table. So if you need coffee or water or whatever, just please raise your hand and your volunteer will come near to you and help in any way they can. During your breakfast, we will have live music by the Kalkaska String Quartet, and we'll be back soon with our 5th annual Heroes Appreciation Breakfast Program. Enjoy your breakfast. We have, first of all, Steve Kaplan, our West Bloomfield Township Manager. Steve? We have Joe Ketchum, our West Bloomfield Parks Executive Director. Robert Wittenberg, who is our Oakland County Treasurer. I'm not sure he's with us today. Our West Bloomfield Police Department Honor Guards, you saw them all earlier. Our Fire Chief, Greg Flynn, I haven't seen him, but maybe, oh, there he is. Mike Patton, our Chief of Police. Terry Weingarten, our West Bloomfield Treasurer. I don't see. Our Oakland County veterans, all of our Oakland County veterans that are here. Blue Star Moms of America. I see several in line there. Greater West Bloomfield Historical Society. I saw someone. Our West Bloomfield Schools Assistant Superintendent, Kyle Anderson. I saw him with an apron on. Carol Finkelstein, our West Bloomfield School Board of Trustee. And if I missed anyone, I apologize in advance. However, we welcome you all here today. And of course, we can't forget to thank our very hardworking community constituents, such as those in our clerk's office, who would want to remind you today that the polls are open until 8 p.m. tonight to demonstrate your civic duties. So please go out and vote today. Okay, with that, we're going to move on to our introduction of our missing man speakers. Today, we stand beside each of you and honor you today, just as we honor those who cannot be with us today, who are watching from afar, and those who never came home. This next pair of speakers holds a particularly close sentiment to this important topic and recognition of those who laid down their lives or those who have an ailment that disables them from being here today. Here with us today to present the MIA POW Missing Man Table Address, we welcome Patty and Tony Soma from the POW MIA Committee of Michigan and the Board of Directors of Oakland Livingston Human Service Agency advocating for our senior citizens. Welcome.
Good morning, West Bloomfield, and thank you for inviting us today. And to our veterans, thank you for your service.
It is an honor for my wife and I to be here with you today. We will talk to you about the missing man table and its meaning. The reason we do this is because the POW MIA issue became personal to us on Friday, October 1st, 1965. My cousin, then United States Air Force First Lieutenant Martin John Masucci, Marty to his family and friends, was the backseater in an F-4C that was part of a 3-aircraft reconnaissance mission along Route 155 in North Vietnam. Captain Charles Scharf was the pilot, When they were near their target, the aircraft was struck by anti-aircraft fire and began to burn. A Mayday call was transmitted, and their wingman advised them to bail out. The wingman observed that a parachute had opened. As he focused his attention on the descending parachute, the aircraft continued on for several kilometers before impacting along the side of Song Mountain in North Vietnam. The chute that had opened was observed descending behind a hill and touched down to open level terrain. The two members of the recon mission circled the area for approximately 10 minutes, attempting a radio and visual contact with the down crew, but to no avail. At this point in time, my cousin, Marty Masucci, was missing in action from the Vietnam War. It wasn't until the following Sunday, October 3rd, that my father gathered our family together to tell us what had happened. I was 11 at the time. I remember it like it was yesterday. We were very close to our Masucci cousins, and it hit us all hard. For the next several months, we would ask my dad what was the latest on Marty's case. And he told us the feeling was that it was Marty that had parachuted, but that there was never much more information. While Marty was always in our hearts and minds, it wasn't until the Vietnam War ended that he was once again in the forefront. We had heard the news that the POWs were released and prayed that Marty was among them. But again, it was not to be. Marty was not among the POWs that were released from Vietnam. Fast forward 57 years, and we still do not have a definitive answer about Marty. We have learned many facts, though. Our government is still actively exploring crash sites in North Vietnam, and they have located and investigated the crash site of the Phantom F-4C that Marty and Captain Scharf were in. They found enough DNA evidence to determine that Captain Scharf was in the air crash when it crashed. Captain Scharf was interred with full military honors at Arlington National Cemetery on November 30th, 2006. However, there was no evidence that Marty was in the aircraft when it crashed. We do know now that it was Marty that must have parachuted. So we continue to wait and pray. The mantra of the POW MIA issue is to never forget and never give up. And that is what we do, and that is why we are here today. For Marty and for the 81,503 MIAs from World War II to our current conflicts. So now I ask you to please direct your attention to the special table reserved to honor our missing servicemen and women.
This table is set for one. The empty chair represents Americans who were or are missing from each of the services: Army, Marines, Navy, Air Force, and Coast Guard, and our civilians who join us today in spirit.
All Americans should never forget the brave men and women who answered our nation's call and served the cause of freedom in a special way. Let us explain the meaning of the table.
The table is round to show our everlasting concern. The cloth is white, symbolizing the purity of their motives when answering the call to serve. A single red rose reminds us of the lives of these Americans and their loved ones and friends who keep the faith while seeking answers. The yellow ribbon symbolizes our continued uncertainty, hope for their return, and determination to account for them. A slice of lemon reminds us of the bitter fate, captured and missing in a foreign land. A pinch of salt symbolizes the tears of our missing and our families who long for answers after decades of uncertainty. A candle reflects our hope for their return, alive or dead. A Bible will represent the strength gained through faith to sustain us and those lost from our country, founded as one nation under God. The glass is inverted to symbolize their inability to share a toast. The chair is empty because they are missing.
Please raise your glass in a toast to honor America's POW MIAs, to the success of our efforts to account for them, and to the safety of all now serving our nation.
As we approach this holiday season, please remember those that will not be with their loved ones, whether they be serving to protect our freedom, and also those who have not come home yet. At your holiday celebration, please raise a glass to them and think of all the families who keep an empty place at the table and keep the faith until they all come home.
Never forget, never give up.
Thank you.
Thank you again to Tony and to Patty for the missing man ceremony and discussion and the knowledge that you gave us to understand the missing man table. At this time, I turn your attention in the program to that of our keynote speaker, and I am honored to introduce our speaker. He is Captain Mike Mose, lovingly known as Cap Mike. He retired at the age of 68 from 31 years in the Navy as a corpsman, physician's assistant. His retirement was short-lived, as he recalled in 2020 to help with the COVID crisis, working as a naval officer in uniform at the VA hospital. He still works in this capacity 2 to 3 days a week. Captain Mose has traveled on multiple deployments during his service time, including in Vietnam, Haiti, Dominican Republic, and multiple sea deployments, to name a few. With these experiences, Captain Mike grew in rank, responsibilities, and skill over his career. Captain Mike has dedicated his entire adult life to his service, and today we are proud to welcome Captain Mike to speak with our West Bloomfield veterans at this, our annual Heroes Appreciation Banquet. Would you all please join with me in giving a very happy welcome.
Age. I'd like to start out, but first of all, I'd like to make an announcement that I included a captain's coin. They are challenge coins, and they were put in. I didn't have enough of them, so if you didn't get one, sign the clipboard, and I'll make sure that you get one. I'd like to read a poem first. It was written by Joanna Fuchs, who Sergeant George Fuchs lost his life and was awarded the Medal of Honor. It's the best on earth. It's a Veterans Day tribute. Now, if someone has done military service, they earn the title of veteran and more. They earn our deep respect and admiration, that they are special, that no one can ignore. They sacrifice the comforts we enjoy. The list is long, and all of the things they gave. Our veterans are extraordinary people. They're loyal, dedicated, true, and brave. When terror and invasion were real threats, they showed us that they could handle any storm. We owe our freedoms and our very lives to our veterans who served in uniform. Our veterans should be celebrities. They're exceptional, and no other group compares. We're grateful for the many things they've done. They're always in our hearts and in our prayers. Now, we owe our veterans support and friendship. Let no one ever question what they're worth. These men and women served us and our country. Our veterans, the very best on earth. I'd like to welcome you today to the ceremony and thank you for all attending. I'm honored to be speaking with you today on such an important occasion. We're here today to honor our service members and to remember their sacrifices that they have made and the courage it took to defend, honor, duty, and country. Now, valor is stability, and I don't mean arms and legs, but of that courage of the soul. We're here today to honor our heroes, and the definition of hero, my favorite was the quote from Admiral William Halsey in World War II, Vice Admiral, and he stated that there is no such thing as a hero. It's just the right person at the right time in the right place doing the right thing. But we must remember the achievements of our veterans, their courage and their dedication, and to say thank you for their sacrifices. Thinking of our military personnel who join us today, and those who are here only in spirit, a person can't help be awed by the enormity of what we have encountered or what we will encounter. Our debt to our veterans can never be repaid, but our gratitude and our respect must last forever. I'd like to ask the service members and veterans who are here today, please stand up. For many years, our nation was important enough to endure long separations from their families, miss the birth of their children, freeze in sub-zero temperatures, bake in wild jungles, and endure the sands of the desert. They've lost limbs, and far too often, they've lost their lives. Thank you for answering the call of duty. You have made our armed forces the most respected in the world, and I salute you. Please be seated. Now, I'd like to ask the family members of any of the service members of the veterans also, please stand up. Do we have any? Yeah, okay. Family members have had to endure career interruptions, frequent address changes, and a disappropriate share of parental responsibilities. The children often had to change schools and separated from their friends. The hardest of all, the uncertainty of whether mom or dad would return from their duty assignment. We know you have lived through difficult times and often had to take on a heavy load to keep the home fires burning. Thank you for what you have done, and I salute you. Please be seated. The service members that we honor here today came from all walks of life. They shared several fundamental qualities, though. They possessed courage, pride, determination, selflessness, dedication to duty, and integrity. All qualities needed to serve a cause greater than oneself. Now, many of them didn't ask to leave their homes to fight on distant battlefields or operational theaters of war. Many didn't even volunteer. They didn't go to war because they love fighting. Now, a peaceful resolution should always be on the forefront. But when all else fails, we stand ready to respond. Now, these men and women were called to be a part of something bigger than themselves. They were ordinary people who responded in extraordinary ways in extreme times. Now, you cannot fight a war without veterans. And while the utopian idea of a society without war is appealing, let us not forget that wars have liberated slaves, toppled genocide, toppled terrorists. Our veterans rose to this nation's call because they wanted to protect a nation which has given them and us so much. Now, since the first shots were fired at Lexington and Concord and our Revolutionary War began, American men and women have been answering the nation's call to duty. Millions of Americans have fought and died on battlefields here and abroad to defend our freedoms and our way of life. Today, our troops continue to make the ultimate sacrifice. And even as we lose troops, more Americans step forward to say, I'm ready to serve. They follow in the footsteps of generations of fine Americans. Those who defend us from our enemies must be supported, whether their service was in Baghdad or Beirut or Saigon. We need to serve our veterans as well as they have served us. And even when the guns have temporarily stopped firing, and while not all veterans see war, all who served in the military have expressed a willingness to fight if called to do so. Now, we've awarded medals and to military personnel and added their names to buildings, named them after ships, to honor them for their bravery. But nothing can ever replace the void by death or injuries of a service member. And no number of medals and ribbons can comfort those who have had to endure. Today we're gathered here to remember, to honor, and to pay gratitude to those who have served our country. Our gathering is just one small spark of the pride that burns across our nation today and every day. It's not a lot, but it's one small way that we can honor those who have made the ultimate sacrifice so that we can live in freedom. Your presence today, on this Election Day, is a tribute to our troops, their families, and to those in spirit is a way to say, we remember. We remember. Thank you for attending today. God bless you and your families. God bless our troops, and God bless America.
Again, that was just so special from Captain Michael Mose. In our closing presentation, I'd like to invite Kelly back to the stage with me.
All right. Thank you, Captain Mike, Patty, Tony, and Reverend Monica for the invocation of our veterans. To everyone who helped make today possible, I want to give some special shout-outs to the WB Parks team, the lead of the committee, Kaylin McMahon, Heidi Russell, Ben Burr, Brittany Trout, and I'm hoping I'm not forgetting anybody. Megan. Hello, Megan Taco. See, I can't see you. All right. We hope you enjoyed this breakfast this morning. Thank you to the chefs in the back. But most importantly, we thank you. Thank you for your service. So we have a few more reminders before we wrap up for today. We want to thank WB elementary students and the middle school students for leaving you gifts of gratitude and little art pieces on the table. Please feel free to take those with you.
We'd like to thank Jacobson's Floral, who has donated the centerpieces today to whomever has the closest birthday to Veterans Day. So talk amongst yourselves around the table, and whoever has the closest birthday to Veterans Day is the winner of the floral. Please take it with you. Get to know those at your table, as I said earlier, and enjoy your floral arrangement.
And don't forget, if you had your portrait taken today, to thank Frameable Faces. When your portraits are printed and ready, we will contact you. If you didn't get your portrait taken today and would like one, Frameable Faces did have to leave, but we will happily take your portrait today of you and your guests. So just stand out in the lobby there, and we'll be around after we dismiss.
Lastly, each veteran will leave with a gift from our hosts, our sponsors, and our community donors to take away with them today. And as a token of our steadfast appreciation, don't forget your bag if you didn't get it at the door. Thank you once again to our presenting sponsor, HAP, for leading the pledge and for their continued support, as well as our supporting sponsors that are here with us today. Please stop by on your way out again and thank them for their generosity.
Again, today would not be possible without our support from our event partners. Hardworking Heroes Appreciation Planning Committee. So in regards to West Bloomfield Parks employees, we also are joined by West Bloomfield Township Library and West Bloomfield Township and West Bloomfield Police Department. So for those of you, Emily, Jeff, many kudos. James, thank you. Chris. In behalf of West Bloomfield Parks, we also want to extend a thank you to Civic Center TV, Tyler and Dave. We appreciate your time and ingenuity in putting together a really amazing program. Thank you, West Bloomfield Fire and Police, for the honor guard this morning. And again, our veterans, we salute you, we thank you. At this time, we welcome home.
Again, we salute you and thank you, and we remind you to go out and vote. But at the same time, we want you to have a wonderful Veterans holiday coming up. Thank you for being here.
The quartet's going to come on for a few more minutes.